So then did you guys walk out to the Ted Williams seat?
Yeah, and we sat out there and we're like, no chance. No, no chance back then. It was anybody hitting this. And if like guys like David Ortiz with metal bats can't put it out there, then there's just no way that they're doing that back in the day with whatever kind of wood they were using. So there's just no way.
I've never heard the Ted Williams argument though. Again, this is one I could be open-minded to. I never even really thought about it.
You got a lot of time in the bullpen. You're going to cover pretty much every topic you can, so you got to keep it interesting.
Okay, so in terms of how you got to Seattle, right? I mean, you spent a couple years with Toronto. You had a brief little stint with the Mets. But then ultimately, before 2023 starts, you end up with the Mariners. So when you get the call and you eventually worked out that, oh, this is where you're going to play your baseball in 2023, like as somebody who grew up here, what's your first reaction when you find out, yeah, I'm coming home to play baseball?
Man, honestly, like my stomach dropped, like everything. I think that moment in time, everything stopped for me. Because when they called me, when the Mets called me, obviously, like I was shocked in the first place that I was picked up because obviously, I didn't have great numbers and I was hurt all last year. Then the Mets call and they're like, "Hey, we claimed you," and then you're like, "Okay, cool." And then, I get DFA'd again, and you're like, "All right, well, I was lucky enough the first time." And I actually, the first day that they called, I got DFA'd, and I'm just like, well, let me just take a look at what the Mariners situation are with lefties, and I was looking at their bullpen at the time. Everything looked pretty solid. So I was like, okay, well, that's just a dream come true. But, I'll probably end up back in Syracuse. And so when they called me again, the Mets, and they were like, hey, just wanted to let you know, you've been claimed by the Seattle Mariners. And I was like, what did you just say? She was like, yeah, you just got claimed by the Seattle Mariners. And I was like, at that point, I didn't hear anything that she said. I didn't process anything she said. I ran in there. My mom was like doing something because I was staying with them during this time. And she was like making some food and she was like listening to music. And I just went over and I was like kind of like slapping her on the shoulder. And she was like, what do you want? And I was like, I'm a Seattle Mariner. And she was like, what? And then she ran into my stepdad's office and he was like on a meeting. And she was like, get off your meeting. Get off your meeting. And she was like, what do you want? Like, this is an important meeting. And he's like, Taylor just got picked up by the Mariners. And he was like, I gotta go. And yeah, it was pretty surreal. I did a couple paces in the backyard, like, man, this is crazy. Like, this is actually happening. And then when I got that phone call and it just comes over Seattle Mariners, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So yeah, it was pretty surreal.
Before I ask you, I guess, about like what you've done this season with the Mariners, like off of how you built all this excitement going to play for the Mariners, you're the same generation of Mariner fans as we are. So like what was the thing I think that sticks out to you most from your childhood about the Mariners and building that connection?
I just like, honestly, like when I went to the field for the first time in spring training and you see Mike Cameron's in there and you see Ichiro and you're seeing Edgar, and I'm like, dude, these are the guys that I watched growing up, and now I'm just going to work with them. Like, now we're just sharing the same clubhouse. Like, that was really when I was like, man, this is happening. And then you're walking down the spring training, you're seeing like all the murals of all the people that I played here before, and it kind of reamped my love for baseball. Like, obviously I love baseball and everything, but like being able to go in there and you walk into the clubhouse for the first time and you see that jersey hanging and you're like, everything that you went through led to this moment right here. Like, I'm just going to try and enjoy it as much as I can. No matter what happens, like, I can say that, hey, I got to put on this uniform for however long, but at the end of the day, like, you made a dream that only a certain amount of people who grow up and they want to play a sport, they want to play in the big leagues, and able to play for their hometown team. There's not many doing that, and so that was just like, hey, that's a check mark. That's great. Let everything else fall into place and see what happens. And so it was really cool.
I assume Ichiro was the first person you went up to try and talk to.
I couldn't even talk to him. I panicked. He was like, he was walking down the hallway, and I saw him, and like immediate nervous sweats, and I just kind of like paced. I was like, and I turned around and I was like, went back to my locker. I was like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And so I eventually ended up talking to him later, and it was pretty crazy when he came up and he was like, hey, Tayler. And I was like, I'm on first name basis with Ichiro. Okay, sure. That's crazy. So another cool moment is when I was younger, I had a broken bat from Mike Cameron, and I've had it with me in a case since I was a kid. And once I found out Mike was around a lot, I asked my parents to ship out the bat. And right after one of our morning meetings, I went up to him and I showed him, and he's like, how did you get this? And I told him the story, and I was like, I've had it since I was a little kid. Like, you were one of my favorite players growing up. I was like, you think you could sign this? And he was like, of course. He's going around showing everybody the bag. He's like, this is the wood you need, like stuff like that. He's like, it's really cool. So it's just like really cool moments in spring training. I'm just like, man, this is just a dream come true.
What's it like having Ichiro around the clubhouse during the regular season when he's available to be there?
It's like a celebrity, seeing just like the biggest celebrity. I mean, it's just really cool, and like he's so down to earth, and it's just funny because like he does the same stuff we're doing, and he's still like, that dude could probably play. Like, if somehow we lose like 3 outfielders or something, like, I feel like he could be that emergency, like 10-day contract kind of thing, and you can put him out there, and he still looks good. It's awesome to watch him do his thing and just be present and still continue to love the game. Like, it's awesome.
Okay, so Major League Baseball in the next couple of years is starting to float out the idea of doing this Legends Home Run Derby, like how David Ortiz said he was down and A-Rod said he was down. How can you use your poll to get Ichiro into that thing? Because one of the things I always said about Ichiro is I think that guy could legit win a home run derby.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about that all the time. Like growing up, they're like, he doesn't hit a lot of homers, but he can if he wanted to. So, and obviously, I'm sure you guys saw that video of him breaking that window the other day. I don't know how recent that is, if that was this year or what. But like that guy can still swing it, And I'm sure if he did get to that point, I'm sure his name would be thrown in quite a bit. So that would be really cool to watch.